Hi, folks. You're Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about something I remember in the mid 1990s, where I first saw what I later would know were professional globalist agitators and World Economic Forum goons going around the media landscape, the talk shows, the current affairs shows, that sort of thing, talking about how mass migration and diversity and cultural diversity and so on was going to be the way forward. And now I didn't take much notice of these. I'd never heard of these people. They seemed to be talking, as far as I could tell, a load of nonsense. And because they were coming up with something that was pretty sort of new and way out there at the time, at least, the interviewers who didn't really understand the implications of it, the interviewers just seemed to let them talk and let them put their case on the table. So now the questioning was as weak then as is now. I think the questioning by the interviewers was weak at the time because through ignorance, naivety, they just didn't understand really what was being talked about. They considered it so far-fetched that it would never happen. Unlike today, when they're part of the globalist game, they don't ask a hard question because they're told not to or paid not to. Just coming to the interviews, though, that I remember, and I was digging around for some online, but these were, again, when you look at these people, they were professional agitators, and they were sent, they were fanned out across the entire media landscape for the sole purpose of spreading propaganda and planting the seeds and the ideas and so on. I had no idea it was a warning of things to come, and I thought the chances of doing what they were proposing was about nil, because no government would go against the will of the people after all, and the people would never agree to mass migration like that. Therefore, it could never happen. But I didn't sort of perceive a future where our own political representatives would be gagging to sell us out, just so they could get a waterfront mansion in return. Now, which many of them did get. So I just want to have a look at the interviews, though. Here's one interview where the guy is asserting, he's a British guy. He's asserting that that mass migration is and will be a wonderful thing, and he's saying, well, the Western world with homogenous societies, it's unsustainable to have a homogenous society. All homogenous societies will fail. The only societies that will succeed in the future are multicultural societies. Therefore, the West and Britain and so on must become multicultural. Otherwise, they will become failed states. Now, that's a pretty sort of whoa. That's a big thing. Now, if you're interviewing somebody who's coming out of that, surely you'd make a chase on them and go, okay, well, why, how? Explain it. But they're allowed to assert everything. A bit like you look at Larry Fink from BlackRock. Now, we all know that we have to change, and then he goes off on no one. What do you mean we all know? No, what? Where is this? We all know. What are you talking about? Well, change how? Well, why must that change? And so on. But he's just allowed to assert it. We all know things have to change. Bang, and that's taken as a cast in concrete sort of factual starting point for the rest of the conversation, and it sets the entire tone. And no one asks the questions either of Larry Fink today or of these goons back in the mid 1990s. And there was a younger Klaus Schwab was going around, sprouting some of this nonsense as well. But no one explained it. So there were a few questions. Well, how will this mass migration, how will it, this multicultural society, how will it benefit? What is the benefit? Oh, the cultural enrichment, the diversity, the cultural enrichment, the diversity. And he just came out with the same, which they do today, the same 2 or 3 talking points. Just think of the food and the restaurants. Wow, yeah. Now, I can't, there isn't anything either then or now, that said that justifies or supports or could sell the benefits, assuming there are any benefits, of mass migration and multiculturalism. Now, another thing that I didn't see at the time was that multiculturalism meant bringing third world peasants to the West. I thought that was just utterly impossible. That could never, ever happen under any circumstances, other than maybe the tiniest numbers here or there. But so I wrote that off as an impossibility. That'll never get across the line. Our politicians would never allow that to happen. But there you go. It shows you how much things have changed, and it shows also that. And I wouldn't call myself super politically involved at the time, but you know, I was an avid reader of politics and political history, that sort of stuff, and kept a watch on things and knew some politicians and so on. So I wasn't, you know, unaware of the issues, but I considered it completely impossible that these things could occur. So I pretty much put it at the back of my mind. Thought, yeah, well, that's a nice idea. But they didn't attempt to sell the benefits of it. They said, well, cultural enrichment. Well, what the fuck does that mean? You know, the diversity. Well, again, what the fuck does that mean? So the same sort of talking point propaganda bullshit we see today, but no explanations as to why. Now, I'm saying, given the amount of travel I've done and have done business on every continent, I'm more open than probably most people are to being convinced. If it is a good idea, show me how. Tell me. Explain it to me. If it is such a wonderful thing, then put it out there and explain it to all of us. Sell it to us. I mean, wow, if it's as good as you say, and given the extreme aggression that you're pursuing this multicultural mass migration project with, then you must think it's good. So explain to the rest of us how it's good. And if we can just get past, you know, silly little lines, you know, diversity is our strength and cultural enrichment, that's all bullshit. That means nothing. So explain it to us. But it's something that again, has been around for a while. But as I chide myself today for not having maybe paid a bit more attention. I just didn't think it was possible that they could ever achieve it, or that the population would ever agree, or our politicians would ever agree to it. But I never considered that the entire Western body's politic would sell out their own populace and their own voters, and would aggressively and actively plan to deceive their voters and lie to them. And undermine the entire fabric of democracy in the process. You've been with Tassos today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.